Hello, and welcome to I'll Try That, the beer review and news podcast.
Each week we'll be looking at a different brewery in the pursuit of hoppiness, analysing what makes them them, and of course, talking about the beer. In each episode we'll talk about a beer-related news topic from around the world in the hop topic.
Let's get going.
I'll Try That, the beer review and news podcast.
Here in London.
Ding dong.
I was thinking about this last night in bed.
Smashed it. Proof for success.
As a soon-to-be fur daddy. Another one in the bag.
I'm vetoing that. This week in the Pursuit of Hoppiness, order your Chinese takeout because we're going to be discussing Tsingtao. But first, the hop topic. Let's move on to hop topic.
Rich, what have you got for us?
Okay, so how much did we pay for that beer earlier?
So, I paid, in Battersea in London, £7.50 for our pints.
£7.50 for 1 pint of Peroni.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty steep.
It's London, baby.
It's London, baby. Okay, then. So, it's just been released where you can get the cheapest pint in England at the moment. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys have a little bit of a think. And then, Joe, you're going to go first. You're going to tell me how much and where. And then, Simo, you're going to go. Okay?
Okay, I think there's a pub in Yorkshire. It's been around for hundreds of years.
Okay.
And they're selling pints for £4.25.
£4.25 for a pint. Okay.
I'm saying cheapest pint.
How much, Simo? How much and where?
I'm going to go with Carlisle at £3.33.
£3.33 from Carlisle. Well, you're both wrong. According to a study, the findings, the cheapest place in the UK to buy a pint of beer is Preston in Lancashire for £3.06.
£3.06. You can't get much of a shop out of £3.06, whereas you can get a whole pint for that.
All I'm saying is that's a fantastic new holiday destination.
Lancashire. Have you guys ever been to Lancashire?
I wouldn't open that can of worms. So where else can we get some cheap beers from?
So we've got, so Preston is number one. We then go to Perth.
Perth, Australia?
No, Scotland, Joe.
Oh, Scotland.
You get that for £3.07. Then there's a jump up to Sunderland for £3.25. Liverpool, £3.27. Kingston upon Hull, £3.27 as well.
Now, can I interject here with a bit more clarity on what pints we're doing? Are we talking lager? Are we talking an ale?
So this is the average price across the whole city or town. So to bring us back around, so we paid £7.50 for a pint today. Can you guys guess what the average price of a pint in London normally is?
Oh, it has to be about £7.
I was going to say £6.
It's £5.18. We got ripped off.
We paid like premium stadium prices there.
Well, this is a message out to everyone. Know your pints averaging.
Yeah.
So you know how to push back.
And now for some Pursuit of Hoppiness.
Pursuit of Hoppiness.
Pursuit of Hoppiness.
Pursuit of Hoppiness.
If you guys don't mind, Pursuit of Hoppiness time.
Right, so this week we're talking about Tsingtao, which is a Chinese beer. It's actually the second largest beer from China in the world, and actually the number one exported beer out of China. So Tsingtao comes from, as you can probably imagine, the Qingdao region, but spelt differently with a Q, in China. And it actually was founded in 1903, so it's been around for 115 years.
Fair old haul.
It's exported and sold in 90 different countries.
It's the number one exported beer from China.
Oh, okay.
According to, actually it's interesting to say that, the Centre of International Communication Studies, I was really searching for a good quote here. really reaching the bottom of the barrel for a good quote here. Apparently they said that it's acquired 90% brand recognition in most EU and North American countries.
Nice.
As in people know who they are.
Because that's interesting, because I literally had no idea who Tsingtao were.
Simo, you learn something new every day.
I know, it's fantastic,
This is,
and I'm looking forward to having a taste of this.
Do you want to know what I learned about this beer? Last year, it brewed 8.5 million hectolitres.
What's a hectolitre?
A hectolitre is 1 hectolitre is 100 litres.
Hang on.
So each hectolitre is 100 litres.
Yeah.
And they brewed how many?
8.5 million.
Hectolitres?
Hectolitres.
So times that by 100 and that's how many litres they've got.
Yeah.
So that's 100.
More.
No, I was about to say 100, 850. That's a large.
It's got.
I love that you tried to figure that out or
Yeah.
tried to do it like, live as well. Like,
Hey.
Can someone clip that? Will you do?
So yeah, I learned what a hectolitre is. I've never heard of
That's
that.
great.
term,
I've never
but
heard
yeah,
that phrase before.
8.5 million hectolitres. Absolutely mad amount of beer.
So we know in talking about that kind of sustainability practices we like to with all breweries, they've done a lot of work, Tsingtao as a brewery, with signing up for low carbon brewing agreements in China.
Nice.
There's quite a few sustainability reports on
Yeah.
Tsingtao and their practices, and I'm sure it's very big. For me anyway, I was finding it actually coming up against the Chinese firewall. When you're searching online, it's actually quite hard to get a lot of information about Chinese companies. And Tsingtao's no exception to this. Like, there is information out there,
Yeah.
but it's not in the same polished or freely available way that I'm used to getting information for these podcasts.
Originally was a German brewer who came over and started it, but it strayed away from its German ancestry, I suppose would be the best way to say it. Strayed away from it, and it's had more Chinese influences in it. But the way they marketed it is in China, Chinese people still think it as a very much a German-based beer. But then you go across to other countries and everybody thinks it is much more of a Chinese-based beer.
I mean, actually, I think you've raised a really good point because I've only ever known it from the international perspective.
Yeah.
We know it as being paired with Chinese food. They just anything hot, spicy, grilled, that's fried,
Yeah.
whatever. Tsingtao's great for that because it is very middle of the road as a beer.
Yeah.
It's not offensive, it's light-ish, but it's also not super light that we reviewed Asahi a while back, and that was quite crisp, that was quite light. Whereas
Yeah.
this is just very middle of the road.
Drinking it's nice, but there's nothing exciting me about it.
I think it's actually a very smooth drink. I think it's very easy, and I like that a lot. If I get a drink that I don't have to, I'm not going, all right, I'm going to have to slog through this one. It's quite nice, actually. I don't have to think about drinking. It's there, and it's nice, and it's cold.
I completely agree. I think a cold Tsingtao, it's not something I would ever think, I will absolutely have to have that. But I've picked it up a few times. I've picked up a Tsingtao just on the odd occasion. This is actually the first time outside of Asian pairing with food that I've had it. And actually, I think it's very good as a lager. It is that German-style Pilsner.
Yeah.
It does remind me of Strarapramen, and I like the fact that it's got such an interesting history where it is Germanic and it's got that aspect to it. And I found it interesting to find out that they still use the hops from the Czech Republic, but they still use the water from the, I'm going to probably say this wrong, Laoshan Mountain spring water. And the fact that they've got that mixture is actually really interesting.
It does really seem like a very traditional German-style beer with Chinese influence.
And I think that's so unique. And I think that's something it's got going for it, because who else can say that they do that?
I mean, we have to talk about their marketing because I think we've all found, having a bit of research, how, let's face it, how inconsistent is the kind way of putting it across the world. It's so interesting to see how they've done this.
It's just a little bit mad in some places, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very inconsistent, I think is the right thing. So from what I was finding out about it, you can be a distributor in a country. So you can be distributing Tsingtao and licensed to be the distributor for Tsingtao in Australia, for example, South Korea, America, the UK. And you then have to put a certain amount of money into marketing spend of the Tsingtao product year on year.
This agreed with the distribution deal, I'm assuming?
Historically, how it's always been done, which is why you'll see wild inconsistencies with how Tsingtao is marketed in those different countries.
Yeah.
So let's say I was a company, I was trying to sell it in the UK, I wouldn't be thinking about any other market.
You've owned the rights to distribute. I mean, there might be people who have in multiple countries in it, but you are the distributor for an area, let's say.
Yeah.
So we'll see distinct areas like the UK, the US is owned by one.
Does that make them, was that technically a way of making money because they're selling it multiple times?
It's a distribution model. So it's like how Carlsberg do it. Whereas Carlsberg still have an oversight. I think what's lacking here, what we'll see here with the marketing, is that Tsingtao doesn't really have oversight of these distributor marketers in different countries.
So they basically go, have at it, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, here's the product.
Yeah.
You sell it. You've bought the product from us.
Yeah.
Now you sell it. The result of which is this inconsistency, where you'll have the likes of South Korea. They did this fantastic campaign all around pandas. You're running around, there's these giant pandas running around with Tsingtao logos attached to them. A big double-decker bus driving around Seoul in South Korea with pandas all over it.
I like pandas, don't get me wrong, but pandas and beer...
I can see...
No, but it's not. It's China, isn't it? It's what you think of China. They're going very stereotypical China.
But as in, like, what did you say the UK advertising
then translates into how, just to show how inconsistent it can be. This was the UK's campaign from a few years ago, was all around how to pronounce Tsingtao, which makes sense.
I think it's quite clever.
Yeah.
I quite like that one.
But you would do. You're from England. That's marketing to you.
Well, they've done that well. They've done their research.
But don't you think that's actually letting these companies do this is probably might benefit because it's going to pander to...
Yes!
It's going to pander to the audience that is looking at. I can't believe I said that. I can't believe that actually happened. But the idea like this looks at... This, for me, is tongue-in-cheek. It's almost kind of taking the mick a little bit, and that's kind of British in the way that...
Quintessentially
yeah,
British.
like the fact that, like, this is how it's said, guys. It kind of fits, whilst the panda thing might fit in...
It absolutely
South
fits
Korea.
in South Korea.
So it kind
absolutely
of
fits in South Korea.
Even though it's a big risk what they're doing, that might work out.
It works for this brand. It's a bit quirky. It's a bit different. You know, the beer itself is not going to speak for itself. It is quite middle of the road. Whereas they've allowed their marketing, puts them a bit more in the map. They need to do a lot more to get away from just being about Asian food, but it's interesting.
Talking about them trying to get themselves away from just being about Asian food, they have done, again, linked with music, and they're doing something called Secret Sessions, which they actually try and find upcoming musical talent. And I think that's such a cool idea. It's such a unique thing to link your alcohol to, which is trying to promote and create new talent in music that has a platform.
So we did talk about their marketing, and of course they segment their marketing up by different countries, so it's hard to get a real accurate picture on this of how big they actually are on social media. Facebook, it's just to take that, they've got 633,000 people following them on Facebook, which the size that Tsingtao is, the 6th largest beer company in the world, kind of expects something of that nature, but that's a huge reach.
I'm not going to lie, I actually would think it's more, like just because of China itself, just because of China being... such a populated country.
But Facebook's not big in China.
It's true.
Well, they've got their own one, don't they? And I can't remember.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. I'm glad you can't remember that.
What I'm seeing from Tsingtao, it's so beer Q. As in, if you're thinking about what it looks like and what it could only be a beer. It's in a green glass bottle, but the label itself, Simone, if you want to talk us through what you're seeing.
At first, I was thinking, this is very Chinese with the colouring of the red. However, I actually look at it and I think that looks like a Germanic beer.
So it's the blend.
Yeah, so again, as in I looked at it and I thought, you know what, it reminds me of when I was in Prague or when I went to Berlin and they were selling the beers there. It actually fits, it would fit in there, except for obviously the...
pagoda.
Yeah, the Chinese elements to it. It again blends those two things together.
So with the red's very popular in Chinese culture. Just had a quick Google, but apparently it's the most popular colour in China. It's also the national colour, representing happiness, beauty and vitality, good luck, success and fortune.
Great Google quote.
That was a good Google quote. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Your research is invaluable.
I've been working pretty hard as the fact checker.
So as always, we'll post the links for their Facebook, Instagram, website as well that you can, from your specific countries, you have to have a look, have a bit of a Google of them. And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe,
Rich,
and Simo,
goodbye. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter,
and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now. Always drink responsibly, and if you or anyone else needs some help, go to drinkaware.co.uk for more information.